Hello again. Welcome back to Flying Cloud Zen YouTube channel and our collection of talks. I hope these are of value to you. I hope they're of some support to you in your practice. Today I'm going to talk about our practice being cellular. Our awareness practice being cellular. Practice must be cellular. I'm going to start with a short quote from Paulo Coelho. This is what we call love. When you are loved, you can do anything in creation. When you are loved, there's no need at all to understand what's happening, because everything happens within you. When you are loved, there's no need to understand what's happening, because everything happens within you. So, as meditation practitioners, as Zen students, if that's your chosen path, we learn meditation. We learn Zazen. Just like our fellow mindfulness practitioners from ages past have learned meditation, just like our current community members have learned meditation, our Sangha mates have learned meditation, like our teachers learned it, like their teachers learned it before them, like countless unnumbered generations of students and practitioners just like us. We sit meditation, we practice meditation, we learn meditation. We learn to keep our breath company. We learn to keep our body company. We learn to keep those busy thoughts company, right? We get pretty good at that. And then we start to notice our wanting. And then usually for most of us, if we stick with the practice, we notice all of the different forms that our wanting takes. It's more shallow expressions, kind of flittering along the surface like light dancing on moving water, distracting us, right? Restlessness is one of the forms wanting takes. Boredom, hunger, drowsiness, daydreams, fantasies. The symptoms of the body and the ego wanting comfort, entertainment, distraction. We notice that, don't we? We notice that kind of wanting. If we stick with it, we start noticing deeper wantings, right? Our wanting for admiration, for respect, inclusion, belonging, our longing for acceptance, our longing for power. We start to notice that. If we stick with it, we start to notice deeper wanting, purpose, meaning, wholeness, our longing for self-knowledge, for deep contentment, right? And if we stick with it, we discover our deepest wantings of all, right? Self-transcendence, self-actualization, awakening, enlightenment, unity, God. Do you feel how, as our practice continues, we're talking about expanding, 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 becoming more and more aware, including more and more into our awareness as our awareness deepens. As our awareness deepens. And then it's time for the next step. We start to feel inside of our noticing. Our noticing starts to include the feeling, right? We feel the breath. We start to feel the body. The witness, the noticer, is inside now. It isn't from the outside watching the way it was at the beginning. It starts showing up inside. We begin to feel the body. We begin to feel the fear of the body. Bodies are scared because they know they're vulnerable and they're going to die. Fear is part of what's stored in us, right? We begin to feel sadness, anger about that temporality that our bodies are. We start to be able to actually know much more intimately this wanting. We start to touch it much more closely, right? We start to know it, not just the shapes that it takes, the storylines, the thoughts, right? We start to know it more intimately. We start to know it by feeling it in our body. We start to notice our longing by feeling it in our emotions. We start to experience what the Zen Buddhist tradition has called no gap or intimacy, touching directly. These moments of contact, these moments of awareness of our longing, bringing the light of awareness to the depths of our longing. We could even call those moments of enlightenment. We're bringing awareness to something that did not have awareness before, right? So this is not just conceptual labeling. Practice is now starting to become cellular, right? This is realizing by knowing directly. To realize by knowing directly. A little haiku offering from our friend Isa. Autumn wind, a shiver of horror. Autumn wind, a sudden shiver of horror. We know that Isa's experience of life was deeply informed by his Buddhist faith. He was a deeply devout Buddhist practitioner in Japan when he was a haiku poet. And so he knew very well the teachings of the Four Noble Truths, the truth of suffering. He knew the truth of non-self. He knew the truth of impermanence, the marks of existence, right? He also would have had faith in rebirth in the pure land. He was a pure land Buddhist. A deep trust in his faith in Amida Buddha, the Buddha of boundless light. And yet, the haiku that I just read speaks of the experienced horror in the face of the idea of his own mortality. Despite the faith of his spiritual being, his human being, his ego self, his body, still experienced horror at the idea of his own death approaching. That fear was in his body. That fear was in the cells of his body. It was more than just an idea or belief. And so his ideas and his beliefs did not change his bodily experience of fear. We all already know this, right? Because we all know that there's a huge difference between reading a recipe and eating a cookie, right? There's a huge difference between reading an owner's manual and driving a car. There's a huge difference between understanding, oh, my child is sad right now, and holding their little body as they sob and feeling their breaths come hard against your forearm and feeling how hot their face is becoming as they lean their face against your cheek. Experience is first, and conceptual labels and cognitive understanding come second. But too often we reverse this. And we think that studying the map of the North Shore means that we know what it's like to swim in Lake Superior. So we think that studying all these weird meditation concepts, all these weird Zen texts with their stories and their scriptures and their sutras mean that we know what it's like to practice simple, raw, unadorned, unfiltered compassion. We don't. Our ideas are not the experience. Ideas and thoughts are symbols that represent something. And so to that extent, they're static. They're abstractions, right? Actual experience is dynamic and alive and constantly moving. So the admonition since the very, very, very beginning has been hold the crying kid. Don't ask that crying kid to be different. Don't ask their experience to be different. Don't ask your suffering in response to their suffering to be different. Just be with it. No filters, no stories, no abstractions, no defenses. Compassion. Simple. What I'm describing, simple, not easy, very difficult. This is the point in our practice when zazen, when meditation stops being kind of a resort that we can escape to, like a spa that we visit, right? A nice cloudy kind of heaven realm, a sweet state of consciousness where we try to guard and pretend that we try to guard, right? That sweet state, that little peaceful heaven that we carve out. We kind of guard it. We try to protect it because it's very fragile, you know? And meditation becomes something else. This is when meditation, when zazen starts becoming real, when it starts being the embodiment of compassion and wisdom that it was intended to do, that the invitation from the beginning of time was always be the light, be compassion, be wisdom. That's what meditation will teach you to do. This is the point where it begins to start becoming that. Something deep, something real. You can start to feel it really deeply in your practice, this turning that I'm talking about. Because we all have a sense, and this increases, our clarity around this increases as we go, that, oh, I'm going to a special space and I'm trying to protect it because I don't want something to harsh my buzz. I don't want something to break the spell. We know what that feels like. I'm not judging that. We don't have to judge that. It makes sense. Human beings need comfort. It makes perfect sense. We're meeting one of our needs. Remember the desire? Desire for distraction and entertainment? We're talking about a couple layers beneath that. Well, the desire for calm, the desire for peace, the desire for harmony, the desire for stillness. It's beautiful. And to discover through meditation, I have the power to create that state or help bring about conditions that will be conducive to the arising of that state is really powerful teaching. That's why we all start there. Calm yourself with your body, calm yourself with your breath, calm yourself with your awareness, calm the waves, calm the waves. That's beautiful. There's no judgment of this. But I'm talking about the second stage, this big, beautiful second movement of practice where we become so strong, our capacity becomes large enough that we don't ask it to be comfy anymore. We don't need it to be that anymore. We're okay. A loving parent is okay holding the crying kid. It's okay because they know something, right, that the child doesn't. It's okay. It'll pass. I have you. You're safe. This is normal. There's not a problem here. You're just upset. Upset isn't a problem. It's not a problem. All of a sudden, that's what our meditation becomes. We're watching ourselves being upset, being angry, disappointed, grasping, greedy, longing, whatever the show of the day is. But we're not needing that to go away. We're not needing to fix it or change it or extract anything from it. We're not asking anything of it. A parent doesn't ask anything of that upset kid. Meet a need for me? Of course not. You just hang out with it. It changes all by itself. When you love something, something happens. In meditation, like Paulo Coelho's quote that we started with, is the invitation to start seeing everything is me. All of it's happening within me. It's all happening within me. To meet the experience with love is the transformative action. Now, the witness is coming from the inside. This is cellular. This is embodiment. We call it in Zen embodiment. It isn't an idea anymore. It starts to become you. You start to become it. There's a merging right there, right? I mean, right in even the word that Zen chooses, embody Buddha, embody enlightenment. It's right there in the middle of it. Body, 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 body. Embody it. Embody just means make it cellular. Make it cellular. It's not an idea. It's not a symbol. It's not an abstraction. It doesn't represent anything else. It's in the body. It's right there in the body. Right? Embodiment means cellular, and therefore enlightenment is cellular. We have to feel it, the experience of being alive, all of our humanity, all of it, right? That's the functioning of Buddha. That's the functioning of awakeness. Feel the wanting to allow that, right? What is it? What is it really? Feel the question. Do you sort of see how the layers of wanting, like, oh, I want to be distracted and entertained. Well, underneath that, I want respect and inclusion. Well, underneath, oh, until I get to the big one. I want to know what I really am. What is this? What is this precious human life? What is it? Is it true that I'm consciousness itself? God in form, enlightenment embodied? I'm just awareness, that I'm just love? Is that really what I am? Is that my essence? The light? Is that true? Do all the religions that tell me they all say the same thing? Do they speak the truth to me when they say that? Do you feel how deep that goes? We have to feel that kind of question. Then we can start to feel and start to know and start to understand the truth that we've all been taught. All wanting is wanting for God. All longing is therefore ultimately holy longing, if you follow the thread. So your wanting is a pointer. It's like a compass needle, you know? And the invitation there is to follow it, to find your edges, find your limits, find your suffering, right? Breathe into those. The invitation to expand, the invitation to find that right here. Grow, evolve, right? Find the suffering, find the dukkha, as we say in Buddhism, right? Dukkha is wanting. Follow it. Follow it. Because it's your constant companion as a human. As a human, your constant companion is desire, is wanting, is longing. And that can create suffering. Of course, that's the first noble truth of Buddhism. Suffering's not going anywhere. So the question becomes, how do you sit with your constant companion? How do you sit with your wanting? How closely do you listen to it? How lovingly do you bear it witness? How often do you try to get up and change seats to get away from it, or blame it, shame it, ignore it, repress it, suppress it, deny it, scold it? None of that sounds loving. None of that sounds compassionate. None of that sounds wise. You can hear it as I say it. You know some part of you knows, yeah, that's right. No, that's right. Getting away from that doesn't feel right, does it? It's not kind. It's not what Buddha would do. Why would Buddha consciousness run from anything, refuse anything, not include something? It just doesn't make sense. So, how do you bear it witness? From where in you is the witness coming? What do you say to it? Your longing when it shows up, what do you say? How do you abide with it? How do you meet the suffering of numberless beings? Katagiri Roshi, my teacher's teacher, said our goal is to have kind consideration for all beings every moment forever. So my favorite quotes. Our goal is to have kind consideration for all beings every moment forever. Pretty nice, pretty big space he's describing. Pretty big space where everything is included. The circle of kindness is so big that everything is just invited in. Nothing is left out. Right? This is not an idea. He's talking about the bodhisattva vows, the 4 vows of the bodhisattva that we all take, whether you've taken them formally or not, whether you're even a Buddhist or not. Everybody's taken these vows. They're the vows of the spirit. Everybody understands them on some level. On some level, you understand these 4 vows. Look them up. You can find them online, easy enough to find, the 4 bodhisattva vows. The scale of the aspiration that they describe. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them all. The scale is infinite, and the scale is infinite because the vows know that they have to include everything, everywhere, every moment, forever, just like Katagiri Roshi said. Right? The vows know and are worded in the way that they are worded, right? Because the vows come from a place in us that understands that to turn away from the light, to turn away from awareness, to deny that part of ourselves is the biggest sin there is. By sin, I mean missing the mark, and that's what the word means. That's the biggest possible missing of the mark, is to say, I am not that, that is not mine, I will not. That's the biggest missing of the mark. Think of the suffering that that's created, that missing of the mark. Think of how often we all do that. Of course we do. This human body is terrified, and the ego that's born of it is terrified. To go from a very constricted, scared place of identity to an expanded place of including and feeling and allowing everything, it's a big ask. That's why we have stuff like spiritual tradition and religion, to create a structure, to give us words, to give us forms and rituals that help hold the size of the fear that we have and the size of the aspiration and longing that we have. They do this very imperfectly. I know you know that. But we also have gifts like the bodhisattva vows that remind us, oh yes, that's actually the compass of my heart and always has been. Participate fully in a universe made of light, of course. Of course, we understand that, right? Beings are numberless, vowing to free them all. And the part that we really emphasize in Zen, the remember part that Zen teachers say is those beings are not outside of you. They are not apart from you. They're not you. This is Paulo Coelho's quote again. Inside. So how you relate to your own suffering on the zafu, on the meditation cushion, is the way you treat the whole universe. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. The way you relate to your own suffering is the way you relate to the universe. Because your own experience, your own direct moment to moment experience is the whole universe. So that place, that meditation cushion or bench or chair, however you do it, that place, that moment, this is where your vow is either kept or broken. Right? Where else could they be kept? In what other moment could your vows be kept than this moment? This is the moment. What other place could your vows be kept other than here? It's the place that you are. The place you are, the moment you are in, always the present. Everybody who does meditation knows that. Only one place to be, place you are, only one moment to be it. This is the one. Ta-da! And so your vows, they either happen here or they do not. That's it. It's actually that simple. So when your restlessness arrives, there, we have a suffering being. How are you going to respond? Your vow is one of compassion. And so if you meet that restlessness with scolding, ignoring, distracting, judgment, distancing, we've missed an opportunity to keep our vows. And so gratefully, gracefully, the very next moment, we have another opportunity because moment is dynamic. So there's an infinite number of chances to keep your vows. We learn meditation. We learn zazen. We learn to keep company to what we find. Then we learn to keep non-reactive company to what we find, right? And then we learn to keep kind company to what we find. And then we learn to keep kind and wise company to what we find. We can feel what is true and what is false. And what we find, of course, is always only us. There isn't anything else. So that which is witnessed is cellular memories, thoughts, emotions, sensations. Therefore, that which witnesses must also be cellular. If you want to meet pain in the cells, you have to go into the cells. If that's where the suffering is stored, that's where you have to go. Right? The witnessing comes from inside. Now, this is the great second movement. It's not outside anymore. It starts coming from the inside. The recognition starts being cellular. The pain is felt in the cells. That's the witness. I feel you. I'm with you. I'm holding you. I have you. Right? Enlightenment is cellular. Actual enlightenment is cellular from the inside out. That's embodied enlightenment. Anything else is a concept. It's a symbol. So that first hit that we all get, that first hit of emotion, sadness, fear, boredom, anger, right? It's a message. It's a message from the past. You're feeling it now, but you know it's related to something else. There's already a pattern there. Karma is already present, right? There's already cause and effect. There's already an association. There's already a relationship. There's already a belief. All those things are already in place in order for the irritation to come at the neighbor's car horn while you're trying to meditate, or, oh, the sadness when you remember that, right? That first hit, oh, it's like a message that's finally made it to you. A message in a bottle or a phone that's been ringing for 100 years and you finally heard it, right? It's a gift. Some part of you isn't dead. Some part of you is still alive. Some part of you still cares. Some part of you is still reaching out, going, here's my sadness. Here's my restlessness. Here's my anger. Here's my confusion, right? All the different forms that suffering takes. Do you feel what a gift that is? that the reaching out is still happening, that the message is still alive. You have a chance to go, oh, I see you. I remember what that is. I remember how that felt. I'll just be right with this sadness. I'll just be right with it. It's okay. No one was there many years ago when I first felt that. There was nothing to do with it. There was no place for it to go. It couldn't be recognized. It couldn't be healed. It couldn't be understood. And so it got stored. It got stored right here in our Dharma container, right here in the cells of this very body. It got stored. What a brilliant thing. What a brilliant bank vault the body is, to store our gold that way, right? The gold of our suffering that way. So that years later, after you have discovered meditation and realized, oh, it's a vessel, it's a vehicle, it's a conduit for my own actual heart, the heart of compassion, the heart of wisdom, my own Buddha self, right? I can now go back in. I can now go back in. I can meet all those things when they show up. Hi, I see you. Hi, I see you. I'm so glad you're still here. I can include you now. Right? You discover in yourself this ability to stay right here as your grown adult, your beautiful, loving, wise, kind adult, the mature soul that you are, and to meet all those little impressions, false beliefs, insecurities, wounds that show themselves, right? All those little tiny bodies that we have a chance to hold close, and all those broken, childish beliefs and ideas that need desperately to be corrected. Right now, meditation isn't a distancing anymore. It's the opposite. It's a holding close right here in the body. There are no external solutions. Zen won't save you. But this practice, you can. You can. Isn't it wonderful to release the world from its responsibility of taking care of us? Isn't it nice, actually, to untether the entire universe and all of our relationships from being the things that are responsible for giving us happiness, making us fulfilled, somehow delivering contentment? No. Do you feel how chained we are when that happens? How much control we long for? How quickly we create resentment in ourselves when it doesn't show up the way we want? How beautiful it is to cut all of that free and say, no, it's just me. It's just me. There's no Zen that's going to come and save me. There's no relationship that's going to come in a really beautiful day or big bank account. Or I absolve you all of the responsibility of taking care of me because I can do it. There's my freedom. That's the freedom of meditation practice. That's the freedom of Zen practice. Right from inside. I got it. I've got it. Complete responsibility and complete freedom. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate your attention. As always, I'm glad that you watch these. Please contact me if you've got questions or comments or want to explore some of this material in yourself that comes up with me. I'd be happy to do that. And I hope you come back again soon. It's lovely to be here with you. All right.